Hello everyone, my name is Penny, aka your favourite contradiction, and welcome back to an emergency broadcast. I wanted to get on here and talk about obsession. I've spoken a lot about the pressures that are put on us as people on this channel, whether it is through marketing or businesses, talking about how as women, but also as people, we have to be constantly productive and we constantly have to look a certain way and be productive a certain way. And it requires a level of vigilance that realistically none of us have. The same people who preach these kind of messages are the same ones that oftentimes are revealed not to be able to hold themselves to the standards they set. It's a story as old as media that the sparkly persona in their personal life ends up being not who we expected, and that's because the immense pressure is not sustainable. But that's not what I'm really here to talk about. That's just one of the many effects of it. So without further ado, let's talk about obsession. If you are a girl my age, you probably remember the first time you saw Black Swan. And if you are a man, you probably remember the first time you saw a movie like Whiplash. I remember the first time I watched both of these movies. Both of these movies have a similar premise, and the main purpose of them is to serve as a warning. The story tells a tale of how to lose yourself completely. And like many other people after seeing that, my first response was to be somewhat inspired. Now, I could make arguments about the directorial or the editorial or even some of the writing choices that could lead to someone forming those opinions, but at the end of the day, your interpretation is likely fueled by your own personality and by what you were looking for. There is a lot of discussion of glorification and talking about how media impacts people and can lead them down certain paths, and it is a very, very valid conversation, but it ignores the internal aspect of why would you want that? And these two movies are no different. In fact, they're quite literally the poster child for exactly what I am talking about. Both Black Swan and Whiplash are movies that have had this level of misinterpretation forced upon them. And I think when it is a collective thing like that, it is very much a question of how society plays a role, but I am more interested about the individual aspect. It has been a running joke for my friends and family for most of my life that I cannot be normal about anything. And of course that leads itself to the very obvious neurodivergent jokes about hyperfixations, but it's a bit more than that. Now, I am not willing to dive into my family history, but there is definitely a genetic predisposition there. But I don't think that is the entire story behind my and a lot of other people in my generation's cold-hearted obsession. An obsession that has festered for most of my life. As I said, I remember watching movies like Black Swan, and I remember watching movies like Whiplash, and I remember my response being one of inspiration, even though in my head I was fully aware that that's not the story the movies were telling. But a warning sign can read as inspiration to the eyes of those who are looking for danger. The jokes that I have mentioned that my family and friends make about me not being able to be normal about things, it isn't just a joke. Everything that I have done, that I have enjoyed, I have done until it's become unhealthy. I was the same with YouTube. There's a reason that I have disappeared twice now, and it's because when I really got into editing and when I really got into video making, it impacted my personal life. I couldn't not hyperfixate on it. I couldn't not obsess over it, and it was the same with the gym when I was going to the gym, and it was the same with work when I was trying to get a promotion. It's very much how I operate, and that's the reason that at the start of this video, I called myself a walking contradiction. I speak a lot about self-care, and I speak a lot, and I tell a lot of my friends to be kinder to themselves and to treat themselves with more value, but I don't do that, and I don't think most of us do. So what ends up happening when you are this kind of person is you fluctuate between this constant cycle of disregarding how you feel and disregarding how others maybe feel sometimes to achieve what you want, in the aim that, okay, this sucks, but you know, once I get there, it'll be worth it. So it's either that or it's complete burnout. And if I'm honest, I'm sick of playing this pretend game that I know how to achieve anything out of self-care, because honestly, I don't. Everything that I have ever achieved has been done so through a focus and an obsession that has been personally damaging to me, but has a positive feedback loop, because oftentimes I achieve the things that I want to, if I don't crumble in the process, which is another part of this whole mentality. The reason I'm talking about this is because I don't think I'm the only person that has this. In fact, I recognize it in a lot of people that I would call my friends. I'm surrounded by chronic overachievers, and that is for a reason. I love being inspired by people, but I know I'm the same as them, and I know that they're probably the same as me. And if you are an obsessive kind of person like me, you probably want acclaim, and you probably want validation, and you probably want someone to say good job, because you can't say it yourself. It's this bare mentality of like, fuck you, watch this. It's apathetic and it's cold and it's abusive, mainly to ourselves. I wouldn't say I have achieved many things, but I have got to the end of things that I have been working on, and I have looked in the mirror emotionally bloodied and gone, what happened? I have forced myself and continue to force myself to emotionally crawl through barbed wire in order to achieve the things that I set out to, and dare turn around and go, why is this so difficult? After depriving myself of any emotional resources that I have, I then wonder why I'm spent. If you are also like this, I don't know you. I can't tell you why you are, but this can't be the only way to do things. And we know it's not, because we tell the people in our lives that they shouldn't do this. My friends will come to me talking about the same thing, saying that, they're burnt out and they just wish they could have a day off. And, this person's relying on me, that person's relying on me. I really want to achieve this goal. And every single time I tell them to take a break. I tell them that it's one day, or if you can't even get one day, try take an hour or 2 hours just to yourself where you don't. And I know what you probably say to that. You probably say what my friends say to that, which is that, oh yeah, I take days off. And it's like, do you really? When was the last time that you had a day where you didn't think about what you could be doing? You didn't obsess about what could be happening, about what you could be achieving, about what you're doing with your time. You truly took time for yourself, the person, not the idea, not the goal, the person. It was probably a while ago. I know it was for me. Because you cannot take a break, right? You cannot take a day off. Like, you don't want to, like you tell yourself that you can't. So instead you'll wake up and you'll go to work, and then you'll come home from work and you'll go to the gym, and then you'll come home from the gym and you'll get a shower, you'll maybe get something to eat, and then you'll work, and then you'll go to bed, and then you wake up and then you go to work, and then you come home and then you go to the gym, and you're somewhat tired, but it's okay, I need to go to the gym, and then you'll come home and then you'll work, and you're kind of demotivated, but you got a deadline coming up, a deadline that you set yourself. So, you got to get it done, and you'll go to sleep, and then you'll wake up and you struggle to get out of bed, and you go to work, and suddenly everyone's annoying you, and your head is screaming, and then you come home and you have to go to the gym, so you go to the gym, and it was okay, I guess, and then you come home, and then you work, and then you look in the mirror, and you realize you don't know who you are. I recognize that this has been quite a heavy video, but the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because I don't think I'm the only person that does this. I think a lot of my friends do this, and I don't think it's good, obviously. I just don't think many of us know how not to do it. And I don't think it's fair to beat yourself up and wonder why you walk around bruised. More and more, I'm recognizing the importance for prioritizing yourself, and I don't mean that in terms of not going to see friends because you want to achieve this goal. I mean that in terms of you, the person, matter more than your goals. Because if you don't exist, neither do your goals. You have to be there. And if you can't be there because you've worked yourself to the bone, then what was the point? Take a day, because, losing yourself isn't a moment. It's not, something tragic happens and it derails you. I found that it's a path so estranged that you didn't actually realize you diverted course. The crossroads blended together, and somehow you ended up here, and you turn around and you go, where am I? Who am I? And the only way to avoid that is to put yourself first. So take a day, do whatever you want. I don't know what that is. I can't tell you what to do, but do whatever you want. Yeah. My name is Penny. Thank you for listening if you got this far. One day we will talk about why I disappeared for 2 months, but for now, pull over if you get tired, call me back, and I'll see you sometime soon, probably. I'm gonna go for a walk though. Bye.